So I'm on my favorite park bench, I guess, in Glasgow, Scotland. Today's my last day. Tomorrow, Brittany Page will be filling in full day while I'm on a plane heading back. Great updates today. I'm gonna give a full history of what took place once my friend is completely out of the woods. It's tough. It's an emotional haul to have your best friend of 35 years go through something as touch and go, a life-threatening illness, but today was remarkable progress that I'll fill all of you in on when I get back to the States, which should be later tomorrow. But I want to talk about something that you hear all the time in American politics today, and that is that this is the most important election, but also they say this kind of basic phrase that we have a choice to make in November, and it's an important choice. And it couldn't be more simple, but it couldn't be more true or the choice more clear. Yesterday in Miami, Donald Trump had a rally at one of his dopey golf courses, Doral, and in it there's 3 clips that I want to share with you that just make the choice for anybody rational or decent. And we're going to start with him, and this is really, it's a clear choice here. I'm saying the same stupid thing everybody says because it's so true. Is imagine when you watch this clip, this being something Joe Biden would say. Imagine if a Democratic candidate stood on a podium before a crowd, a throng of frothing idiots, cheering on his every word, talking like this. Watch this ridiculous, disgusting display from someone who wants to be president of the United States.
That's supposed to be a little bit Democrat territory, but we're leading in Nevada, and a waitress came over, beautiful waitress, and I never like talking about physics. She's beautiful inside, because you never talk about a person's look, ever. You never mention it. The other day, I got very angry. Some man called Chris Christie fat, and I said, sir, and then he said he was a pig. I said, sir, Chris Christie is not a fat pig. Please remember that. He is not a fat pig. Please take it back. And the guy's looking at me like, really? No, we have to defend people. You can't call people fat. So I said about 9 times, he is not a fat pig.
First of all, his stream of consciousness bullshit is getting very, very tiresome. But also the response from the crowd is alarming and tiresome. I've got my notes here on my laptop. A waitress came over, beautiful waitress. I never talk about the physical. Really? A man who's been adjudicated by a jury of his peers to have sexually assaulted someone? Come on. You never talk about a person's look. A guy who had beauty pageants and walked in on naked teenagers because he owned the pageant, and what are they going to do? Things he said. You never mention it. The other day I got very angry. He got very angry because someone called Chris Christie a fat pig. I said, sir, Chris Christie not a fat pig. Please remember that. Imagine if Joe Biden or any president in the history of our country publicly said something like this. People would be appalled. It would have been a deal breaker. Remember back in the early 2000s when Howard Dean screamed in a weird way into a microphone, the crowd couldn't even hear it, and it was the end of his presidential aspirations. A good and decent man in Howard Dean. And Donald Trump has plunged us into absolute chaos, so much so that this is normal now. This is acceptable for someone who wants to be president of the United States of America. It got worse. Of course, fearmongering is the order of the day for Republicans. This next clip is him. Really, I want to rapid fire these because it really does give you a flavor for what is at stake and who it is that the Republicans have betrothed their legacy to. They've given over the reins of their once great party of Abraham Lincoln to Donald Trump. A coward, a physical weakling, a draft dodger, a financial clown, multiple bankruptcies. It baffles the mind. I'm here, obviously, in Scotland, and I talk to people, a lot of people. I've not talked to the nursing staff. I talk to people sitting next to me in restaurants. I talk to people at bus stops. And when they find out I'm American, the first thing they want to talk about is, what in the hell is going on in your country? How in the hell Is this the state of politics in America? And they fear, because everything bleeds over, the chaos that the world, the globe, will be plunged into if Donald Trump is back in office. And a lot of this is fear-mongering, because they know the MAGA base responds to things that titillate them. And fear is a titillation of sorts. And here he's talking about, you can't have people from Florida go to the Jefferson Memorial in DC, and they get murdered and raped and killed, and all this bad stuff happens. If it weren't so stupid, it would be funny. And if the consequences weren't so grave that we face, you get what I mean. Watch this.
We will take over the horribly run capital of our nation in Washington, D.C., and clean it up, renovate it, and rebuild our capital city so that it's no longer a nightmare of murder and crime, but rather it will become the most beautiful capital anywhere in the world. Right now, if you leave Florida, oh, let's go, darling. Let's look at the Jefferson Memorial. Let's look at the Washington Monument. Let's go and look at some of the beautiful scenes, and you end up getting shot, mugged, raped. We're going to take over our capital, and we're going to run it tough and smart, and we're going to beautify it. We're going to get all the graffiti off the marble. We're going to fix the roads and the medians, which are falling down all over the streets.
I live in Washington, D.C. I have been to the Jefferson Memorial many times, and only a few of those times have I been raped and murdered. So he's really not very correct about this. It's so stupid. But the overarching problem here is that the last sentence that he said there about we're going to run things tough and smart, neither of which Donald Trump knows anything about. He is not smart and he is not tough. So how does he propose he will govern in such a manner? MAGA world, though, gobbles it up. The rest of the country needs to know exactly what is at stake, and the media is not doing a good job explaining what's happening here. The media is covering the two gentlemen who are running for president at this current time as though they're the same. That Joe Biden and Donald Trump, well, it's just a binary choice. Two dudes, different policies, and that's not it. The media is not going to cover this particular speech. They're not going to cover the insanity and the unhinged nature of one of the prominent candidates for president. They're not going to do it. They're going to talk about Joe Biden having a bad debate. They're going to talk about Joe Biden and the conspiracy theory around Parkinson's, to which the answers have been given. There's no evidence of it whatsoever. They're talking about that, but they're not going to talk about this. They're not going to talk about the clear and present danger that really is going to shine through in this next clip. Him calling the terrorists, the domestic terrorists, the inciters of an insurrection, they carried out, he incited, they carried out the insurrection. He refers to them as hostages, people who just loved their country. That's a hell of a way to describe people who attempted to end democracy in the United States of America. Watch this.
But when people who love our country protest on January 6th in Washington, they become hostages, unfairly imprisoned for long periods of time. But fortunately, the Supreme Court has just ruled, and they should be out soon. We are a third world nation that...
One, all of that is wrong. Every single word of that was incorrect. One, they don't love their country. I don't know what country they love, but it's not America. They don't cherish the Constitution. They have no loyalty or fealty to the actual decent working of our government. They attempted to overthrow the United States government by way of overturning a free and fair election. They're not hostages. They were indicted by a grand jury of their peers. They went to trial, and they were found guilty by, again, a jury of their peers. The justice system works in this case. They are not hostages. They're serving sentences for the crimes they committed, up to and including seditious conspiracy. That's what's at stake here. And the Supreme Court did not rule that they're all going to get off. The Supreme Court ruled that the certain charges that were levied against them were improperly set. They're not going to get off unless Donald Trump gets back into office, because then he will have a ready-made army of insurrectionists to do his bidding. That's where we are. So the choice couldn't be clearer. It is an easy choice if you truly do love this country, the country of America, not the country I'm sitting in currently. The choice is clear. I'd love to know what you think. Wild times. You can call 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me as always daily at dollemore.com. Please consider supporting my work. Crazy times. You can become a channel member. Click the join button below. For $2 a month, you can help support this work. If you're feeling generous right now, you can give a super thanks. All of that is very, very helpful, especially in this uncertain time while I'm traveling unexpectedly and everything else. You can become a patron on my Patreon page. Go to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. Give $2 a month. Those are all great ways to support the work and the channel. I love and appreciate you guys very much. I'll see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another.